Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry, and today we have my Week 8 picks where I'm going to go through every game in Week 8 and give you my picks straight up against the spread, as well as do a score prediction, all in one video, and going to get it out quick for you guys here. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I do this every week, and you'll see at the end of the video, my pick record this year is pretty damn good. So let's get right into this Thursday night game. The Vikings at the Rams. And all those Rams games don't end up typically being like home games. Taking the Vikings in this one, which seems like the kind of cop-out pick. It's just tough, only with how well they've played this year, only getting them, -2.5. It just made the most sense to me. I think that Sam Darnold's been kind of slacking and the offense really hasn't looked as good. So I don't think they're going to, get into the 30s as far as points go. And I actually think the Rams are going to be able to compete. They get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, and I think that will be a nice test for the Vikings defensive back room. So that'll be interesting to see, as well as Kyren Williams. I'm interested to see what the Rams can look like full force. It's kind of slightly tempting, but the odds that you're getting, you don't really get great betting odds with the Rams there. So I'm taking the Vikings on this Thursday night football game 24-17. Next we have Eagles. I'm taking the Bengals in this one, agreeing with the books. They're barely agreeing. So I guess the books are thinking that the Eagles are the better team right now, which I think would be fairly easy to say if you look at what's happened. But I think you're getting the Bengals at home, and the Eagles have been kind of spitting and sputtering in these recent weeks. Obviously, they get a big win over the Giants, but I don't really find that to be very impressive. Their defense finally looked good, but I don't know if they're going to be able to contain the many weapons on the offense, with Joe Burrow throwing it to T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and then Chase Brown kind of emerging as the primary back there. I think it's going to make it difficult. And I think the Eagles have struggled on offense and really didn't do very well as far as throwing the ball. Last week against the Giants, didn't really have to. They were able to just hand it to Saquon, even though the Giants knew that was going to happen. But I think it's going to be I think the Eagles definitely could win. I personally wouldn't be betting on this one. But I'm going to, for my picks here, I'm going to take the Bengals, again, agreeing with the books there, taking them 28-23. Next we have Browns Ravens. Not much to talk about here. I just think the Browns might score a little more points than normal. Having Nick Chubb back, hopefully healthy, even healthier. And then Jameis Winston, just a fresh new, what's going to happen. I don't think the Ravens defense has been very good this year, and they've typically played in shootouts. I don't see the Browns really having a chance at winning this game. I do think they have a chance to cover if they're not expecting, if we get a classic 30-30 gunslinger Jameis, 5,000-yard Jameis, then, there could be, it could be a closer game. I do think the Ravens might run away with this one, though, with, again, I talk about it every week, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So I'm taking the Ravens 38, Browns 24. Next we have Lions Titans. This one just seems too easy. We got Jared Goff as the lock in the thumbnail. The only thing that I think that wouldn't be a lock is it's a big spread here, 10.5, and the Titans have played fairly close to a lot of their opponents. Obviously, last week the Bills kind of ran away with it, but that's a bit of an anomaly this year. The Titans typically have been pretty good on defense and be able to keep the game close. I think with their unsurety, that's not a word, but how unsure they are of their quarterback, and then, obviously, they just traded DeAndre Hopkins too, so you lose a piece there. Calvin Ridley's still there. Tony Pollard's still there, and he's been doing well. You're going to have L'Jarius Sneed to hopefully probably try to lock up Amon-Ra, I would assume. Big help that the Lions, for the Titans, that the Lions won't have Jameson Williams this week. But I think, I talk about it more, and I think, well, if the Titans figure out how to stop the Lions' run, which I think is going to be very difficult, could keep the game close and could cover here, but I'm going to take the Lions to cover it all and win this game 28-14. Next, we have the Dolphins-Cardinals. I'm going to be honest with you. Before the season started, I had the intention of making a video where I predicted the entire season, and I was going to go through every single team, and I was going to give you every score prediction for every game, whole entire year. And I had most of them made, just didn't get time to make the videos before the season started and get everything out. Big project, need to start earlier next year. Besides the point, I looked and I had the Cardinals winning this game 27-17, and I have no idea why. And I went, you know what? Fuck it. We'll just keep it that way. Even though, Dolphins really haven't looked good. I think guessing this well before the season started, I think would have been crazy, just because you're kind of, I guess you'd be assuming that Marvin Harrison just makes the team completely turn around, and that the Dolphins would just stumble and not be good this year. But of course, haven't played well because of the injuries. But I thought, this is a score I predicted then. We'll just keep it that way. And I don't know if the Cardinals are capable of putting up that many points. They've only done it the 1 week against the Rams, but let's see if they can do it again. And I think the Dolphins, maybe start going. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they can really do anything right now. So 17 might be a little generous, considering they've only been averaging, I think, like 13 points a week. So I'm taking the Cardinals 27-17 over the Dolphins. Next, we have Jets Patriots. Honestly, was thinking about putting this as my lock for a cover here. Obviously, Jets looking for a get right game. I think and the other thing that I'm wrong about here with the scores is the Jets defense has been pretty dog shit since Saleh left. So can they hold the Patriots to 17? I really don't know. But Drake May has looked good so far. There's upside there. I think they're going to need to get going in the run game, and they can't go down early. I think if they are playing from behind and their run game isn't going well, I think they're going to stumble, and I think that the Jets might be able to cover the spread easily. But Rodgers has had a lot of issues with interceptions this year, and you do have Christian Gonzalez and Kyle Duggar and some nice pieces in the defensive back room of the Patriots, and I think might be able to take one or two away on Rodgers again this week. So that's why I think the +7, like the Jets in general, have been pretty close in games or lost games. So this was an oddly large spread for me. I do think Jets are very capable of winning this game, but I think it'll only be 3 or 4 points, and I would take the push if it's 7 anyway. So I'm taking the Jets in this one to win, Patriots to cover 21-17. Next, we have Buccaneers Falcons. This is another one where it's tough to pick the Buccaneers because they're +2.5, and they have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, so you're basically relying on Rachaad White and Cade Otton, I would assume. Jalen McMillan is going to get more time. But I just think the Buccaneers have looked good this year, and I think that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are a big loss. But I also think Rachaad White out of the backfield looked pretty good as far as receiving the ball. He got 2 receiving touchdowns last week, and I think having him and Bucky Irving as the 1-2 punch with hey, who knows? Even if they get injured, Sean Tucker can come in, maybe have another good week. But I think with how great that offense has been and how bad the Falcons looked last week, I don't think they'll continue that, but I think the Buccaneers might be able to game plan for them, make it a little bit more difficult. I also think this would be a fairly easier one to pick the Falcons, but the Buccaneers just have been good this year, so I'm taking the upset here and having the Buccaneers beat the Falcons. It is in Tampa Bay, so I'm having them win 28-24 over the Falcons. Next, we have Jaguars-Packers. This is the loser of the week. I don't see how the Jaguars are going to win this game. They have looked a little bit better these last couple weeks, but it's been against pretty shitty teams. And I don't think that's really going to do it for them. Travis Etienne might be back, but he's seemingly still injured. He's questionable as of right now, and he didn't look that good anyway. And the Jaguars, they won last week, but they had 17 straight runs, and the Packers aren't going to allow that. They've had a top 10 defense this year. And on offense, I think the reason Jaguars score 20 points is because I think Jordan Love's going to continue his trend of making mistakes but get the ball down the field. He's kind of having like a Josh Allen-esque, Matt's classic Matt Stafford, Brett Favre type season where he just slings the ball down the field. He'll get plenty of yards. He'll turn the ball over, but he's going to get into the end zone more than you'd want him to. And it's kind of working for the team, especially with how well the defense is playing. The defense is able to bail him out if he turns the ball over. And I also think that's kind of a flaw in their scheme. Obviously, they're winning games, and it's not really a problem. And if that's how they can beat people, more power to them. But I think you have Josh Jacobs back there. I think he could be utilized, and hopefully some coaching. Let's make some smarter throws, Jordan Love, if they're going to, really make a playoff run, because I think the turnover margin and the turnover battle is one of the most important parts of the games. It's just Packers have overcome that so far, but I think Packers will win this game. I just think the Jaguars Put up probably 20 points or so. I think they'll be able to stay in it during this game. Even if the Packers run away, maybe they'll come back a little bit or something. That's kind of what I was thinking in this one. But I got the Packers winning 31-20. Next we have Texans Colts. I just am not a fan of Anthony Richardson. Basically, this is the easiest one to tell you about because so far I'm not a fan of Anthony Richardson. I think he's not good at throwing the football. I think they're better with if Flacco is starting, I'd probably pick the Colts to win this game because the Texans so far this season have played down to their opponents and really been in close games against teams that they shouldn't have, and I've found that to be a bit of an issue with them this year. So I think the Colts and the Texans, I think it will be a close game. Stroud obviously looking to have a better week after going 10 for 21 for 86 yards last week. He wants to improve on that, but knowing you have Joe Mixon who can just kind of carry your team is definitely a positive. And then on the other side, the Indianapolis Colts have Jonathan Taylor, who's been practicing and might be coming back. And I think that definitely gives you some upside with Anthony Richardson. You kind of get like a Baltimore Ravens light situation where you have Anthony Richardson as a big running threat as well as Jonathan Taylor, which I don't think that is anywhere near as good as Lamar and Derrick Henry. But again, kind of a light version there. So I think Colts could stay close in it. 5.5, honestly, a perfect line in my mind, because I'd be very tough to go like 24-20 on it and have the Colts cover. I feel more comfortable at that 7 mark. So I'm taking the Texans to cover and beat the Colts 24-17. Next, we have Chargers Saints, which this line, I should have put, actually, I probably should have put this as the lock, which is maybe a crazy. You might think I'm crazy after seeing this part, and just comment down below. Wow, you're crazy, Jerry. But anyway, Chargers 21, Saints 14. I think the line's crazy because the Chargers have not won games by wide margins. Played very close. They didn't score a touchdown last week, and they lost to the Cardinals. So the fact that they're favored over the Saints, I know the Saints have looked incredibly dysfunctional, and you've got Spencer Rattler throwing to wide receiver 1. Bub Means, which is certainly a crazy thought. You'd think that, the Saints, is that like a UFL team or something? No, that's a National Football League team that happened to put up 90 plus points in the first 2 weeks. But I think it's just too big of a line. So I'm taking the Saints to cover because I think, maybe they'll get 2 touchdowns. Chargers usually score around 20 points. And I think the Saints could probably get 2 touchdowns in this game if they're able to ride on the shoulders of Alvin Kamara and maybe get in the end zone a couple times. I guess more talk about it, even though I was thinking about putting this as my lock literally in a matter of minutes. I feel like, the Chargers really could just beat the snot out of the Saints, but I'm still taking the Chargers to win this game and the Saints to cover. Score to be 21-14. Next, we have the Broncos Panthers. I think Broncos will run away with this one. The Panthers look like the most dysfunctional, organization in probably the last. You had the Browns and not quite 10 years, but obviously had those bad Browns years, but and even the Lions had pretty bad years. But the Panthers look absolutely dog shit. It sounds like Bryce Young might play too, which I don't think is a benefit, especially because the Broncos have had one of the best defenses in the league this year. And then Bo Nix is starting to get things together and start rolling a little bit. I'm not saying he's doing great, but I think he doesn't need to do great with how well the defense is playing, similar to a Kansas City Chiefs situation where Patrick Mahomes is playing like hot dog shit this year, but they can run the ball and they can play good defense. I think 17 might even be a little high for the Panthers in this game. I'm really putting that out there because I like the flashes I've seen of Chuba Hubbard, and I think maybe not knowing who to game plan for. Not that Andy Dalton or Bryce Young are like a huge threat either way. But I think, it might be a case where Broncos get up and then maybe they get some garbage time points. Kind of what happened in the Saints game, the Broncos Saints this past week, where it was 33-3 for the entirety of. It seemed like it wasn't this long, but it seemed like most of the second half, it was 33-3. And then the Saints said, we'll score a touchdown with Jake Haener at the end. So I'm taking the Broncos 31 over the Panthers 17, covering that large 9.5 spread, which I don't think there's a chance that they cover that there. I could be wrong. We'll see. Next, we have Raiders Chiefs. This is just asking for it to be like Chiefs have been in close games. Their first, double-digit win, I think, or, they've all been so close. could be their second, was against the 49ers last week, and they acquired DeAndre Hopkins. Wow, is it really going to be that close, Jerry? Well, the Raiders, so far, I mean, they beat the Ravens. Not that was many weeks ago, and the team's much different now, but I don't know. I just feel like this is like a trap game waiting to happen. It's like, why couldn't the Raiders just, the Chiefs play down to them? And Chiefs are going to win this game. I think that's an easy thing here. But I think 10 points basically is just too high of a spread for me. So I think the Raiders can cover. And I don't know. As I talk about it, this is another one where I feel really stupid because I'm like, really? The Chiefs only got better this week, and now all of a sudden they're going to play a close game against the Raiders. But that just seems to be what happens. It just feels like what happens. I think I saw a stat that the Raiders are the last team to beat the Chiefs because they're undefeated. I believe they beat them towards the end of the season last year. And yeah, I think that's a correct stat. Yeah, because the Raiders are the last team to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs. They're also the last team to lose to the Panthers. So it's just like a crazy world that we're living in right now, where the Raiders will play good against good teams and bad against bad teams. So I'm taking the Chiefs over the Raiders in this one, but the Raiders covering this large 9.5 spread in Vegas, which is probably going to be full of Chiefs fans. 23-17. Next, we have Commanders Bears. This is a tough one for me. I end up going with the Bears in this one, just because I think it seems like Marcus Mariota is going to start. I think that's going to cause you a problem. I don't think he's as good. I think the Commanders in these past, I think it's 4 weeks. Is it 4 weeks or 5 weeks? Past 4 or 5 weeks, they put up 30 points at least every week, except the one against the Ravens, they lost 23-30. So very good, for the Commanders so far. And even last week with Marcus Mariota, you put up 40. You look at the teams that they play, they haven't played a defense like the Bears. The best defense they played was the Giants, which was week 2, and I believe it was 21-18 was the final score of that game. So I think looking at that, I think the Bears defense hold them back, but I think there's also like Dan Quinn. I think he could probably work up some shit to get into the backfield to pressure Caleb Williams, which is seemingly very difficult. But I think he could do something to have an effect and, maybe force a couple interceptions. Maybe Commanders get some short fields. But I think this is going to be a really close game. I was just really torn on what to do as far as the score, if it's going to be a high scoring or a low scoring. If you watched my video, because I did do a Bears video, I did NFC North. I was talking earlier how I did full season prediction. I did do that for all the NFC North teams. Just didn't get all the videos out for the other games. But I actually originally predicted this 14-10 Bears win, because I thought it was going to be, 2 rookie quarterbacks, don't have it worked out yet. Both might have some pretty good defenses with Dan Quinn, and, Eberflus kind of keeping things together. And it was going to be a shit show like seemingly Bears Commanders is. But at this point, both in recent weeks have been very high scoring teams and have had pretty damn good defenses. I think the Bears have been better. I think that's why they win this game. So I think they win 27-24. And I think as much as the Dan Quinn and the Commanders are going to try to get to Caleb Williams, I think if it's Marcus Mariota, I think the Bears are going to get a hold of him many times and cause a lot of problems for Mariota. And I think the Bears win 27-24. Next, we have the 49ers Cowboys. This is tough because the 49ers have looked like shit and the Cowboys have looked like shit, and you'd think, wow, this is like America's game right here. You got the two teams of the 90s facing off to, but it's just, that's unfortunately seemingly the last time these two, well, not the last time the 49ers were good. Obviously the 49ers have been good, but it seems like it's been a long time since the 49ers have been good with how poorly they played this year. So I'm still going to buy into the 49ers hype and think that they're going to win a game, even though the Cowboys are coming off a bye. But I got the 49ers winning 28-20, excuse me, covering the 4.5 point spread. Next, we have the Steelers and the Giants. I believe this is the last game of the week. This is another one where the Giants just always hold teams. Well, I guess maybe not last week, but it's always around 20 points. Last week, 28 to the Eagles, usually around 20 points, and the offense usually is able to put up some points. Now, I think that could be really difficult against the Steelers' defense. There's a good chance the Giants put up like 3 or 6 points, and in that case, they wouldn't be able to cover the spread. But I think Russell Wilson, Danger Russ, is probably way overhyped about how well he did last week, and I think he's going to regress a little bit this week. So I have those Steelers winning, beating the Giants 21-17, but in a close game. where the Giants cover that spread. And then this is my record. Look at this. So 72-35 is a great record so far this year, I think. That's for Moneyline. We're only 56-51 against the spread, so pretty even. But we ended up 10-5 last week, so just a decent week. Was 7-8 against the spread last week, so not good there. And then the better rushing team ties it up with me at 11-4. So let me know what you think of my picks down below, and then you can always comment after too. Maybe you really love these videos and you remember at the end of the week, you're like, wow, Jerry, you did a really good job. So we'll see what happens. But that's going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.